So, hello everyone out there in XO Tribesman Land. So today, I wanted to do a multitude of things, but I decided that I was gonna wait. I wanted the bill to be officially signed. And so now that it has been, I wanna talk about it. I wanna do a deep dive into it. Throughout this time, I'm committing myself to providing more information to you guys that is helpful, not only to how to get through this, but how to get past it. And so I decided that since, I'm well versed in a lot of things other than fashion, I decided to use some of those talents today to help you guys get through it or understand how to get through it. So, first thing I want to talk about the things that directly affect my audience. Number one, we're going to talk about the direct cash payments. So the bill passed Friday morning. Friday, let me give the specific date just in case we ever have to talk about dates. It is Friday. It passed Friday, March 27th, 2020. That was the day it passed. Okay, so we're going to talk about the specific Cash App. So there was $300 billion allocated in the $2 trillion CARE Act. And of that, $300 billion is going directly to the cash payments. So this is the money that the government's going to give you in your hand. It says most individuals earning less than $75,000 can expect a one-time payment of $1,200. So that was the money you guys keep talking about, like, where's my check from Trump? That's the check that they're talking about. So it says married couples will receive a check and their families would get a $500 check. So the example is if there's a family of four that earns less than $150,000, you can expect $3,400 as a one-time cash payment. However, there are still some stipulations to people who earn up to $99,000. You may also get a check. It's just going to be a smaller amount for the check. So just wanted to make that clear that you also may get a check. Well, you may get a check, but the cutoff is $99,000. So those are the things that directly affect the people in my audience. Second, they're adding $260 billion to extra unemployment payments. That means that if you need to file unemployment because of the coronavirus, then they're putting extra money in that fund. So what that turns out to, it says that the bill will add an extra $600 per week from the federal government on top of what your city's already giving you. So it says the example is if an out of work person is receiving a national average of about $340 per week, then if you add the new federal program, your take home would be $940. So I know that every state pays a different thing for their unemployment, but it was just an example. So to help you understand what it is. So the boost in payment will last for about 4 months. So there's some additional time along with whatever. I think the natural time is 26 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just adding extra time to that to help you guys get back on your feet. Now, another one I know that directly affects my people is my gig workers and my freelancers. So my gig workers are my Uber drivers, my Lyft drivers, my Instacart people, DoorDash, all your delivery companies. Those are all gig workers. My Amazon delivery. Oh, thank you for Amazon delivery because I gotta leave the house. But thank you for your services, all you essential people. Listen, bringing me my food is essential. Taking care of people in the hospital, that's essential. So thank you for all my essential people. And all the ones I forgot, you're still essential too. You're still essential. I was going to say just because I didn't say your specific area of expertise doesn't mean you're not specific. I mean, not essential. That's what I was going to say. But so it says typically self-employed people, freelance and contractors cannot apply for unemployment. However, this bill creates a new temporary pandemic unemployment assistance program through the end of the year to help people who lost work as a direct result of the public health emergency. So you also will be able to take advantage of the new benefits of unemployment. So I just want to keep that in mind. Secondly, well, not secondly, but next, we're going to go into tax returns. So all my business owners out there, all my people who are not expecting a refund like me, who probably waited, are going to wait, or were going to wait until April 15th to do their taxes, you now have more time. It says the filing deadline has been extended to July 15th. So keep that in mind. Student loans. Employers. So all of my employers out there in the audience, employers can provide a $5,250 in tax-free student loan repayment benefits. That means an employer could contribute to loan payments and workers won't have to include that as money as their income. So if you work for an employer and they have access to this, they could possibly give you up to that much money, up to $5,250 to pay on your student loans. Did you hear me? To pay on your student loans. Listen, if one thing isn't clear coming out of this coronavirus, I want coming out of this coronavirus to set a lot of us up in places we've never been and never seen. The saying is always said, your greatest come up is from your greatest setback. I think I'm saying it wrong, but like something about setting you up for your comeback. I feel like for most of us, this is going to be our comeback moment. And I want you guys to focus on how are you going to come back stronger, bigger, better than ever before. Because the next time there is a pandemic, or the next time there is a depression, I would love to be able, one of my personal goals is that next time that we have a pandemic, or the next time that there is an outcry of needing help, I would love to be one of the company that says, I'm going to donate $100,000 to my freelance photographers because I know you guys are struggling. Like, that's what I'd love to do right now. So like those are the things that I think about. Like how do I put myself into position that I can be one of the companies, like Rihanna just donated $5 million to New York City, like things like that. Like, I'd love to be one of those people that, I think she donated $5 million to the relief of coronavirus. I don't know if specifically to New York, but like things like that. Like, I want to be a part of the change, and I can only do that if I set myself up for better success. And I didn't learn in the 2008, 2009 recession. I'm learning now. Lesson learned. So I want to go over a few more things that directly affects my people. One of them is insurance coverage. So they are requiring that all private insurance cover the treatment of COVID-19 and all the vaccinations, and the test has to be free. All right. So now we're going to get into what my small business owners get. Okay, guys. So there is a $10 billion emergency grant, which means that everybody can get up to $10,000 in emergency fund to cover immediate operating costs. Meaning, if your mortgage on your building or your rent on your commercial space is due, I know rent is due in a few days. So you can use that money for things that are due now, like immediate costs. Then there is a forgivable loans, which is $350 billion that will be allocated to the SBA to provide loans up to $10 million per business, and any portion of the loan used to maintain payroll, keep workers on the books, pay your rent, pay mortgage, pay existing debt, could be forgiven. Meaning this could turn into a grant if you use it for those things. If this ain't a setup for comeback better and stronger than ever, this right here is it. So For my existing SBA loan holders right now, they are giving $17 billion to cover up to 6 months payment. If you currently have an SBA loan right now, they're covering 6 months payment. Like, if this ain't a setup for a comeback. All right, so I want to go through some other things. So for my people out there who are going to be struggling to put food on the table on top of not being able to pay the rent or the mortgage, they're also putting $15 billion into SNAP. So you can apply for SNAP to get you through this time. We've never seen anything like this. This is the first and it's of its kind. And I feel like in a lot of ways, I want my Black and brown people to use this free resources or oh, by the way, the loans are really small interest rate. I think they're like 0.01 interest rate. So even if it's not used for paying your mortgage, like say it's used for future operating costs and you need it for future operating costs, once we get back into the swing of business, the loan is so small, the percent is so small, it still will allow you to thrive. So think of before a SBA loan was like 10% interest rate, I believe, or like 7 or something like that. Imagine now it's 0.01. Like, this is a setup for success. Whew. All right, so now there's also for my entrepreneurs and freelance people out there who also have children. There's also a food nutrition part. So there's $8.8 billion that gives schools more flexible meal options. I assume what that means, this is me making my assumption, that they're going to find a way to give kids food that are supposed to be in school but not in school, find a way to give them food through this program. Because I know that for a lot of kids, for especially like working or struggling parents, like lunch and breakfast at school is more than likely maybe the only meal they get, simply because their parents cannot afford food. So this is definitely going to be a relief. I can only bet in the coming days and weeks we'll get more information about times, like when this is actually going to start being implemented, because none of that is stated in the bill, like when it will start doing anything. But as of now, like, these are the information that we pulled from the bill. Like I said, I read a lot of so it's an 800-page bill. I read a lot of the pages, not all of them. But so I'm just trying to pull out the pieces of information that I find that I feel like are going to be useful to you, my audience. So education, let's dive into there. So all loans and interest will be deferred through September 30th without penalty to the borrower for all federally owned student loans. That means if the government owns your student loans, they will defer your payments until September 30th. September 30th. So let me put this in context for you. If you work for an employer that is going to take part in this bill, that will be able to give you $5,250, right? So take that, right? Then you can defer it to September 30th, meaning no interest is being collected right now. That means you can put that whole $5,000 to the principal, which means when you have to start making payments on September 30th, they'll be this small. You see what I'm saying? You got to stick together and help you for a comeback to get out of debt. So, hoorays to that. So those were some of the major things that I pulled out of the bill. I should have stated this at the beginning, but I'm gonna say this at the end. I am not your tax professional. call them. I'm just providing input about things that I read and trying to do my best to spread more information that is going to help us through this time. That's what I'm trying to do. So thank you so much for watching this long ass video, and stay tuned. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna come up with more content about providing you with help to get through this. Okay. Also, what I'm asking people is that I know that it is difficult through this time. I'm also trying to get through this time as a business owner. And right before Corona started, or let me not say that, right before it came over to the US, I was working because it was in Wuhan for a while before it came to our shores. So one of the things I was working on was creating a pay it forward campaign where if you agreed to shoot with me, I would also, if you agree to purchase a 3-look package or better, I would, your 3-look package is $225. So I would take that $225. I would also use that $225 to give a 1-look free shoot to someone else. Now my 1-look shoot is $100. So basically I'm giving them half. Basically it's half because that's what it is. So my 3-look package is $225. I'd basically give them a free 1-look shoot. That's what I would do. And then I would take the 25 of that 225 and I'm going to donate it back into a Black small business. So I'm doing 2 things in my pay it forward. So keep in mind, when you book a shoot with me, you're doing 2 acts of service by just picking me as your photographer. But even more now than ever, I know that for some of you guys, $225 is a stretch. Trust me, I understand. So what I implemented was a way that you can still help me pay it forward within the means of what you currently have, if you even have it. Because I understand there's some people that have nothing through this time. And for those people, I pray for you. And I pray that not only through this time you find the silver lining as best as you can, but you use the information I provided and use that to help you. I'll also add in as a caveat that a lot of gig economies are hiring. Amazon is hiring. Instacart is hiring. I know Kroger's is hiring if you live where there's a Kroger. A lot of these, I'm sorry, I said Instacart. Oh, Papa John's is hiring. There's a lot of different types of economy that's hiring because while we're going through a pandemic, there are companies that have been bombarded with orders like Walmart, like grocery stores, like food delivery services. Those people, like people who make masks, like those industries are booming right now because they have an overwhelming demand of people and not enough people to fulfill these orders. So keep that in mind, that you may need to pivot through this time of your life. Maybe not permanently, but temporarily. You may have to take a job at Amazon and work there until your career or whatever you were doing full-time picks back up. So understanding that may be the season you have to be in a pivot, and that's perfectly okay as well. But what I was saying was, so through this time, I started to pay it forward, but I did it through a company called Patreon, which allows you to donate to my Pay It Forward campaign every month, $5. Now, in that Pay It Forward $5, what you are doing, you are paying to help me to help another big and tall guy help me shoot them with the 1-look. So like I said, I know that everyone cannot spend $225 at this time. So that's an alternative option If you don't have the 225, or hey, maybe you do have the 225, you just don't need no photographs right now, but you still want to help. That's how you help. It's basically my way of saying, if you see value in what I'm doing, provide me value so that I can change someone else's life. Because the goal of my company is to change the perception of big and tall men. So I hope to do that through through Patreon and through you guys assisting me with booking a photo shoot or Patreon. So thank you so much for watching my video, and until next time.